change on a 2005 Hyundai Tucson. Alright, here's the tools you need. Just a 17mm socket. A little bit of an extension on there helps. Drain pan, 5 quarts of 5W20 oil, and a Fram PH9688. Okay, very first step, we're going to pop the hood. We usually like to change the oil every about 3,000 miles. And I get the cheap SuperTech oil. I know a lot of people are going to suggest using better quality oil, but my philosophy is if you change your oil often, like at least every 3,000 miles, the quality doesn't matter as much. The dipstick is located on the left, and I've already checked it, but this dipstick's actually pretty hard to read, but it was a bit low, but it's also just time anyway to change it. Okay, and right across from the dipstick, this is the oil cap. I'm not sure how much it actually helps, but I like to remove that before I drain the oil. It allows air to come in as the oil comes out the bottom. Okay, for the next step, you're going to want a 10mm and a 12mm socket, a Phillips screwdriver. And the reason for those is there's this plastic splash guard. It's bolted and kind of riveted to the bottom. I guess it helps keep dirt out of there, but it's really frustrating because it takes 2 different sockets. So you unscrew that one, and then there's like a couple more. So once we get that off, then we can finally get to the drain plug. It's very frustrating. Okay, the front ones are the 12mm. There's three 12mm bolts and 2 10. Now for the 10s, these are right here. I actually think there were more than just one, like rivet screw. I think I lost one. Like you can use a Phillips head to get them off, or you can just snap them out, I think. This is hard. There's not much room under here. That's that rivet. I just ended up actually just prying it off with a flat blade. Okay, and so for reference, the 3 that are the 12mm is that one, and that one. The 2 that are 10 are these 2, and then that's where the rivet went. And I think there used to be a rivet there. Okay, so now we're ready to take the drain plug off. Just first of all, get your oil container catcher ready. I'll show you where that plug is. I'm on the passenger side over here. So when you come under here, you're gonna see, and that plug is gonna be right on the back of the. Again, that's a 17mm. Hardest part is getting your leverage when you're all laying down like this. Okay, once you break the seal or whatever, it's easy just to thumb it out. So get your pan ready because that's gonna come shooting out. And we just drove, so the oil's still really hot, which is actually good because it helps the oil come out nice and fast. I like to let that thing drain for quite a while until there's just very little dripping out of there. Get all that old dirty stuff good and cleaned out. Here's our plug. Now a lot of people will recommend to you to replace this washer right there. It's actually a crush washer, so it creates a good seal. I've never replaced these, and maybe I should. And I just like to wipe all that dirty oil off, get that thing pretty clean. Alright, so while you're letting the oil drain out, this is a good chance to go ahead and change your filter. So I'll show you right where that's located. It's right there. So follow me down. This is it right here. So remember I showed you the oil pan earlier. It's just right here toward the front of the vehicle. And you're just going to turn that counterclockwise, unscrew it. Now I warn you to be ready when you pull that off. there's going to be oil inside of it and it's going to pour out everywhere. So try to have your pan under you. Okay, so you can try to do that just by hand, but this one's a little too tight. Most of the time they are. So this is the filter wrench that I use. Get that at any auto parts store. Just clicks onto the end of your ratchet. It goes over the front. So just slide that on first, and now you're going to need an extension just to get over this piece here. Like I'm going to use this extension. And it's kind of crazy because Fram likes to put that grippy on there, which is nice if you're doing it by hand, but makes it hard for the filter wrench to slip over. Okay, and after you've turned it a bit, now's the time to get your pan under there. I usually like to have a piece of cardboard under all this to soak up anything I drip over the edges. There we go. Okay, once you get this filter out, just set it aside, face it up, so you don't pour it everywhere. So take your new filter, face up like that. Just get a little dab of the oil that's in there and just rub it right there around that seal. So when we put this new filter on, that's going to help it seal really well. Alright, okay, now we're ready to put the new one on. Okay, and just so you know what it looks like, what we're screwing that into. So that's where the filter came off. And there's always that center threaded pin there. And that's what you're going to be screwing it onto. Like this area here is where the seal, where that rubber gasket seals. And once we get it down, you're going to go about 3/4 of a turn. So once you feel it touch, do 3/4 to get it right where you want it. Okay, I just felt it touch. And they always print on the side of these things these little marks so that you can watch those go by. So I want to see 1, 2, and 3. And you're usually able to do that by hand. If not, stick that filter wrench back on and crank it that way. Alright, now that the filter's back on, it looks like the oil's mostly drained out, so it's time to put the plug back in. Let's just get all that grime off of there. You just want to finger tighten it so you feel it make contact. And then we're just going to crank it down. It doesn't need to be ridiculous, but just good and tight. Think about that crush washer. We're just trying to mush it just a bit to create a seal. So now we are ready to put in the new oil. Alright, just stick a funnel down in there. Now the Hyundai Tucson manual says it takes 4.76 quarts. It's a really odd number. And obviously these things are going to come in 5-quart containers. So we'll have a little extra when we're done. I do think that number is an exact number, so when this car is completely empty, which you'll never be able to get it, so we're probably not going to come to that much. So what you're going to do is just pour this in until we get about 4.5 quarts, and then we're going to start checking with the dipstick to see where we're at. This is a place to be clean too. You don't want dust and dirt and stuff going down in here. All that ends up inside your engine, and every bit of particulate in your engine causes more wear and tear on the parts. Oh yeah, so we got about 4.5 quarts in there now. I always like to give a dipstick a good wipe to get my first reading. I will say this one is really hard to read. It just is really hard to tell, but it looks like we've got clean oil between the full and the low. And once you've driven, a day or two, it's good to kind of check it again and see where you're at. Alright, so we're done under the hood. Alright, so basically putting this splash guard back on is just reverse of how we took it off. I like to just finger tighten a few there to get the whole thing held up. A little trick I learned from a friend: when you're trying to finger tighten and you can't quite get your fingers on that, just put your extension on like this. finger tighten like that.